It is overtime here again at Old Favorite Friday, discussing incredible classic beers and giving them the love and the respect that they so rightfully deserve. And this week we have another beer, probably I think our fourth beer from North Coast, and that would be the Scrimshaw. This is their Pilsner. Now, we have obviously reviewed. It's not a review. We have featured this brewery many times because I love North Coast. They're a fantastic brewery in that line of breweries like Sierra Nevada that just everything they do, it's on point. It's well made. You know you're going to get a quality beer. Whatever the style, even if it's not your cup of tea, if it's not a style of beer that you particularly like, if you want to get into that style or try an early great example of it, you got to go to a brewery like North Coast to see what that beer is supposed to taste like. They've been making beer since the 1980s. This beer has been around since, I believe, 1988. So long legacy of craft brewing here in the United States. Before craft beer was cool, North Coast was kicking out incredible beers like Old Rasputin, still one of my favorite beers of all time, one of the greatest Imperial Stouts ever made. And I'll put it up against any single Imperial Stout up there made in production today, pastry stout or no. That Rasputin is still fantastic. But we are talking about a Pilsner here. We're talking about Scrimshaw. This is a beer that I really adore. It's such an easy drinking beer that also has incredible flavor to it. A lot of times you hear things like, oh, it's clean, it's crisp, and it almost like denotes like it's flavorless. Like it's like if someone would see like, a Michelob Ultra is clean and crisp. Well, it is true. It's also basically water. This is not that. This is a takeoff on a German-style Pilsner that has floral, herbal, hoppy aromas and flavors that are classic to those kind of classic German-style Pilsners. It also has a sweet biscuit malt kind of underlying that kind of holds everything together. It's not over the top. Sometimes I say sweet, and I worry that people hear sweet and they think, a brownie, a cupcake. That's not the kind of sweet. It's just a hint of sweetness, malt sweetness, a little bit of biscuit, a little bit of caramel, just to kind of round out some of the edges of the hops. It's a nice addition here. And there's also some light citrus, maybe lemon zest, something of that nature. It adds to the crispness of the beer, adds a little bit of a perception of acidity, which is really, really nice. This beer is so smooth. It's so flavorful. It's so well made. This beer has won, tons of gold medals and silver medals over the years from when the beer's inception to now. And it continues to be, and this is kind of the kind of beer that I look at as an old favorite Friday, one of the ones you put up there and say, what is this series about? This series is about incredible breweries, but incredible beers that have been around for a very long time that we just take for granted because they've been so good for so long. And this definitely falls into that category. It's one of the poster child. That's what I was looking for, the word, the poster child for this series and what we're trying to accomplish here in highlighting these classic styles, these classic beers that are doing things so well, but they don't get the notice because they're not putting in a bunch of crazy adjunct ingredients. They're not kind of pushing the boundary of doing like new, the flavor of the week, so to speak. They're just making an incredible classic German style Pilsner and doing it really, really well. I can't speak to North Coast as far as their brewery of everything else they're doing. I'm sure they're pushing the boundaries in their own way. In their tap room and in their beers that they're putting out. But the fact that you can go to a beer that has been produced at this high quality for so long, it comes in the classic, I know they do cans now, but it comes in the classic squat 12-ounce bottle. It gives me so much nostalgia. I just have such respect for a brewery who's been making this beer, a Pilsner, for this long when other breweries kind of have abandoned some of their cores and some of the beers that kind of got them to the dance, for this beer to still be out, still be this high quality. And it's just lovely. I wish we got more. If you can't tell, I wish we got more North Coast stuff down here. I wish we still got some of their other classic beers. I wish we got some of the new stuff so I can get a chance to try that as well. But cheers to the guys over there, guys and gals making absolutely incredible beer for so long. Talking about food and beer pairings, Pilsners, they're versatile. They can go with a lot of different things. A lot of people think, fried chicken wings will work really well with this. I could go for sure with something like a ceviche. I think ceviche with, the seafood and a Pilsner, they go really well together, but the acidity that comes from the curing of the ceviche, the acid curing, I should say, would go really, really well, kind of accentuate that lemon zest and also have that malt sweetness to balance out some of that acidity would work really well. Just old-fashioned oysters. Oysters would go really, really well with a German-style Pilsner here. And one thing I was thinking about while I was trying this is bruschetta. I think that bruschetta with the basil, which would play well into like the herbal and floral nature of the hops, the malt sweetness to go against the acidity of the tomatoes and the vinegar, would go really well together. So those are a couple things that I think would work really well with this beer, but very versatile. And you don't need to have a meal with this beer by any stretch of the imagination. This is the kind of thing you can crush watching the game or hanging out with your buddies. Fantastic brewery, fantastic beers. Thank you guys very much for joining me again on Old Favorite Friday. Please continue to make suggestions. I was going to do this beer at some point, but it was suggested to me recently, put back on my radar. I'm so happy I was able to pick this up and talk about this great beer and this great brewery. Please poke on our channel. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so that we can continue to grow this a little bit, get some more eyes on this, because we really love being evangelists for incredible beer. We're a brewery. We make beer for a living, and we love our beer, but we love beer in general. And classic beer is what we are all about, and promoting the idea that just because a beer style has been around for a couple hundred years doesn't make it less enticing. It makes it more enticing. We hope to see you next week, and cheers.